There's a lot of debate around the greatest in every sport. Michael Jordan versus LeBron in basketball, John Jones, Anderson Silva, Fedor Emelianenko in GSP and MMA, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning as quarterbacks, Messi versus Ronaldo in soccer. Today's video is about who I believe to be the greatest athlete in any sport. My video is about who I believe is the single most innovative and impactful athlete to the sport in which they participate. But before we discuss the why, let's discuss the what. Skateboarding in its genesis arguably dated back to the 1600s, depending on what you believe a skateboard to be, which may be a topic for another video. However, today we are going to focus on skateboarding as we know it. One of the earliest recognizable skateboards was a Humco Surfer, patented in 1958. The word skateboard first appeared in the Los Angeles Times in 1959 as a complaint because people were attaching trucks to their 2x4s and there were some accidents and injuries, and who better to tell than the Los Angeles Times? 1962, Val Surf starts selling the first self-produced skateboards, in the same year that Patterson Ford starts to produce the first complete boards with newer, upgraded trucks. 1963, Larry Stevenson makes Makaha Skateboards, the first company with a skateboard advertisement and the first company to hold a skate contest. 1965, Surf City, the world's first skateboard park, opens in Tucson, Arizona. 1966, Vans opens its first factory. 1974, Jay Adams, Stacy Peralta, Tony Alva, Chris Cahill, and Alan Darling all joined the Zephyr team. They would become known as the Lords of Dogtown, which forms its skate team in 1975, the same year as their first competition. Stacy Peralta and George Powell would go on to found Powell Peralta and the Bones Brigade, which to this day is a staple of skateboard parts. 1977, Tom Stewart builds the Rampage, the world's first half-pipe in Encinitas, California. 1978, Alan Ollie Gelfand invents the Vert Ollie. 1981, Thrasher magazine is created, making shirts for dorks ever since. 1982, Tony Hawk wins his first contest the same year that Rodney Mullen invented the flat ground ollie. There's a lot more to talk about with the timeline of skateboarding, including how Tony Hawk affected its timeline, but it's best to save that for another video. If you'd like to see a video about that, please just let me know in the comments. Let's focus on the man of the hour, the week, and maybe even the century, Mr. Rodney Mullen and his timeline. Rodney was born August 17, 1966 in Gainesville, Florida. As a child, Mullen slept in boots designed to correct a severe pigeon toe condition. One of his family friends at the time noted that he still had incredible dexterity of his feet. Rodney began skateboarding at the age of 10 on New Year's Day of 1977, against his father's initial disapproval. In 1978, even though he had owned a skateboard for a little over a year, Mullen placed 5th in the boys freestyle category at the US Open at Kona Skate Park in Jacksonville, Florida. Skateboard manufacturer Bruce Walker saw his performance and sponsored Mullen after the contest. He was sponsored from them, Walker Skateboards, from 1978 to 1980. His biggest influence in skateboarding at the time was a Walker professional skateboarder, Jim McCall, who coached him in his early years. That same year, Rodney entered the Oasis Pro competition, defeating the then world champion, Steve Rocco. At Oasis Skate Park during the same time period, he met a 12-year-old skater who introduced himself as Tony Hawk. But if I've learned anything from following Tony Hawk on Twitter, it may have just been a 12-year-old that looked like him. Shortly thereafter, Mullen turned professional as a member of the Bones Brigade, sponsored by Powell Peralta, based on the recommendation of a Powell Peralta rider and fellow Floridian skateboarder Tim Scroggs. Mullen competed throughout the 1980s, often frustrating competitors and judges with his consistency and progressive ability, many of which accused him of being, quote, a damn warlock or something. Like most skaters at the time, Rodney skated a mix of styles, including some vert. That was before skateboarding had broken down into its own categories. People that were more freestyle oriented gravitated towards street, and those who skated more transitions, bowls, pools went into vert. Rodney enrolled in the chemical engineering program at the University of Florida, leaving during his senior year to complete his degree, in order to take over management of World Industries with fellow Bones Brigade team member and company co-founder Steve Rocco. In early 1989, he left the Bones Brigade for good to join World Industries as a principal investor. This was the formation of the very first skateboarder-owned skateboard company. World Industries would later develop into the distribution company Dwindle Distribution, which is the world's largest skateboard manufacturer in the 21st century. So as the popularity of freestyle skateboarding started to go through a decline, he was urged by many of his friends to take a step away and join street skating, as it was going through an upward trend at the time. He was pretty hesitant. He felt like he was compromising his integrity and kind of selling out by stepping away from everything that he had focused on and been dedicated to. If you needed any proof of this, you need to look no further than Rubbish Heap, one of the World Industries videos that they were putting out at the time. Jeremy Klein, one of his teammates, actually grabs his freestyle board, stomps it, or focuses it, breaking it, and then hands him a note from Rocco, the co-owner of the company, and it says on it, "Freestyle is dead." His first step in stepping away was joining the Plan B Skateboards team. At the time, this was a super team. It had Mike Carroll, it had Danny Way, Rick Howard, just a lot of heavy hitters. This was actually co-owned by Dwindle Distribution as well. In 1992, Plan B puts out a video. It's called Questionable. His segment begins with a lot of traditional freestyle tricks that are not really ever seen before then as executed on flat ground, and then it pretty quickly transitions into him skating, street skating. A lot of people believe that this signified a major transition for everyone, not for just Mullen, but for the skate scene in general, moving towards that aggressive style of street skating. A lot of the film was Mullen doing sequence tricks, or lines as they're called, basically mixing in flip tricks with grinds and board slides, and basically doing 3 tricks back to back or in a row. Within the same video segment, he actually introduced 2 new tricks, which would have been the kickflip, underflip, and the Casper slide. The following year, he appears in Virtual Reality, another Plan B video, where he introduces the world to something that he's come to be quite known for, which was the dark slide. Unfortunately, the following year, in 1994, Plan B would dissolve after Mike Ternasky was killed tragically in a car wreck. In 1997, Mullen started a company called the A-Team along with Mark Johnson, with the intention of forming another super team. When A-Team folded in 2000, Mullen made the transition from a founder to a writer for Enjoy Skateboards, which was founded by Mark Johnson as well. Some recruits for Enjoy were Chris Cole and Jerry Sue. Around the same time, Mullen engaged in the development of his own skateboard truck design, a concept that would later lay down the foundation for the company Tensor, which completely innovated the way that we make skateboard trucks today. Shortly thereafter, in 2003, Rodney founded Almost Skateboards along with Daewon Song. And yes, I know it feels like I'm leaving a giant hole in his history and in his timeline without talking about Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but that's another subject for another video. Something pretty crazy that I found out while I was doing the research for this video is Rodney Mullen went from being a regular skater, skating in a regular stance, and basically relearned all of his tricks in Goofy, because he was building up hip pain and scar tissue along the way. I just thought the man just wanted to start skating switch. Now that we've discussed the what and the who, let's get into the how. How do you become considered the greatest of all time, or the greatest right now even? Is it ability? Is it innovation? Is it leaving an indelible mark on something that you participate in? Well, in my opinion, it is all of those things and more. Rodney Mullen changed skateboarding, in my opinion, more than any other athlete has changed any other sport. Here are all the tricks that he is credited with creating. I am going to go through these chronologically, and then by order of importance. Godzilla rail flips, 540 shove-its, 50-50 saran
50-50 Casper,
Belly pops,
flat ground
gazelles,
alls,
no-handed flips,
classic long
giant snake, birthday cake, large fries, chocolate shake. Lowballing, he is said to have invented 30 skateboard tricks, a lot of which are the framework for skateboarding itself, especially street skating. From the flat ground ollie to the impossible, he single-handedly discovered the elements of and arranged the periodic table for street skating. Not to gas him up, but it was a pretty noble endeavor. The only way there would be a parallel to this with another sport or another athlete would be if one such as Michael Jordan had acted as a catalyst for every change in basketball since his time playing, forever altering it as a sport. As the great David Chappelle, an alleged comedian, once said, "The mark of greatness is when everything before you is obsolete and everything after you bears your mark." So now let's break down the order of importance of the tricks that he did create. From a flat ground ollie to a kickflip to a heel flip, all three of which are going to be staples or framework of any modern day street skating. If you want to go up, over, or almost around anything, you're going to need to do an ollie. A kickflip or a heel flip is going to be a crucial part of course, any flip trick that you do. The only comparison that I can think to draw would be as if Michael Jordan invented dribbling, let's say. The point that I'm getting at with that is 95% of all tricks that you would do commonly now in street skating are a result of the tricks that Rodney Mullen had created. Not to say that other athletes from other sports haven't been very, very impactful to the course of their history or their development, such as Michael Jordan, Cristiano Ronaldo, you have Rocky Marciano, you have Hoist Gracie. There are plenty of people that entered into a sport and forever or performed how it But my argument played. Here would be that they did not impact it on such a fundamental level that it would reorganize and restructure the entire sport or branches of it for the remainder of its existence. Now, you may not like that line of argumentation, so let's get into the numbers. Rodney Mullen won his first World Skateboard Championship at the age of 14. Over the following decade, he won 34 out of 35 freestyle contests, thus establishing the most successful competitive run in the history of the sport. In 2008, he was inducted into the Guinness World Book of Records for inventing the most skateboard tricks. How many world records does your favorite athlete have? Go ahead, type it in the comments. Alright, let's get into it and talk about, is there anybody that I think would be close in the actual GOAT argument as far as athletes are concerned. Now, I don't want to get in too deep about each person, although each of these that I'm about to speak about are undeniably important to the timeline of athletics. So I'll give a brief overview and compare it to Rodney as far as impact and influence to their respective sports. Pelé. The legendary Brazilian football player left an indelible mark on the sport for several reasons. His extraordinary talent, awe-inspiring footwork skills, and prolific goal-scoring ability made him a global icon. Pelé's 3 FIFA World Cup victories in 1958, 1962, and 1970 solidified his status as one of the greatest footballers of all time, inspiring generations and transcending borders. But the people at the time that he played against were all comparatively low level. Messi. Lionel Messi, the Argentine-born soccer player, has achieved global fame for several reasons. His exceptional skills such as rate of play, precise ball control, and ability to thread through packed defenses have made him a standout player. Moreover, Messi's influence extends beyond the field. He's inspired countless young players worldwide with his style and his sportsmanship. His career has been packed with an incredible goal-scoring consistency, with over 50 goals scored in 6 of his seasons at Catalona, as part of a club career record of 713 goals, at an overall tally of 816. Future Andrew here. He's actually now up to 826, even at one point getting 91 goals in a single season, which is still a record. He averages 1 goal for every 70 minutes of play. However, in my opinion, while remarkable as an athlete, he hasn't really changed the game other than existing as a metric for his standout abilities within the confines of soccer as it was and is. So, While he is a generational athlete, and I think that point is inarguable, what has he actually changed about soccer other than a standard he's set? Ali. Muhammad Ali, as a boxer, left an indelible mark on history. His charisma, determination, and activism made him an icon in both sport and civil rights. Ali was the first fighter to win the World Heavyweight Championship on 3 separate occasions, successfully defending his title 19 times, 14 of which were unified. Ali's record include beating 21 boxers for the World Heavyweight title, a feat shared only with Joe Louis. His footwork changed the game for a lot of boxers, especially in the heavyweight division, because before then, they were not aware they could be nimble as well as powerful. Another change that he made to the boxing game would be his implementation of the rope-a-dope technique, which he is credited with popularizing but didn't create. His career ended with a record of 56 wins, 37 by knockout, and only 5 losses. While arguably the most famous boxer and probably one of the most famous humans ever, his changes were to the showmanship and popularity of boxing more so than its execution. Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, which many argue to be the greatest basketball player of all time, had an inarguable and immense impact on the sport. His unique combination of fundamental soundness, grace, speed, power, and improvisational ability defined who he was as a player. Beyond his accolades, such as 6 NBA championships, 5 MVP awards, and 10 scoring titles, Jordan's cultural influence in creating the iconic Air Jordan sneakers and global appeal made him a true legend to the sport. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, he definitely changed the sport, from its popularity to the actual shoe that is worn by the players. Also, he was in Space Jam, the greatest documentary about Looney Tunes that I have ever seen. The point that I'm trying to make in this video is who is the greatest athlete of all time, not who is the greatest player of their respective sport. So what did Michael Jordan actually do to change the playing of basketball? Also, according to him, when told that he was a GOAT, he responded, "False, because I didn't play against the great players prior to me, and those were the players that influenced my game." Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky, often hailed as the Great One, revolutionized ice hockey in ways that extend far beyond his impressive statistics. And those stats are staggering. Over 20 NHL seasons, he scored 894 goals, provided 1,963 assists, and an accumulated 2,857 points, which, if you didn't know, is the 2 added together. Rather than relying solely on brute force, Gretzky's unique style focused on quick passes and strategic positioning. He demonstrated that hockey was not just about physical strength, but also intelligence, vision, and teamwork. His approach paved a way for a new era of hockey, inspiring players at all levels of the sport. Critics claim that Gretzky's stats were inflated due to the era he played in, with less emphasis on defense and smaller goalies. They also argue that Gretzky never won a Stanley Cup after leaving the Edmonton Oilers, which impacts his legacy because it implies an inability to recreate that achievement as a leader with alternate teammates. There are a lot of other athletes that I could get into with undeniable impacts on their respective sports, but in my opinion, not to the degree that Rodney Mullen did. From innovation to competitive ability, I think no other athlete comes close to what he has done for his sport. So, I believe that he is the greatest athlete of all time, not for any singular sport, but overall. From creating the framework of skateboarding as we've come to know it, to creating some of the biggest brands, to creating trucks that changed how they are made, everything. Every part of skateboarding he has impacted in one way or another. From the riding to the gear, his cultural impact is undeniable and unparalleled. Alright everybody, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you for sticking around to the end, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you would like to subscribe or give this video a like or dislike or tell me that I'm wrong and ill-informed, feel free to do so. Thanks for checking it out either way, and have a good one. Bye.